My name is Kenneth Alexis, third year information systems major and a minor in information technology. We'll be presenting application calendar service Begon Thought, a subscription calendar service. So thank you for listening. So today's agenda, we'll be covering the summary, introduction, and the problem that we're trying to solve, and then the solution to the problem, the creation process, which includes the interview process and how we did our meetings, and we'll be going into the demo, the benefits, covering the different early models and the ideation process, and we'll be doing the walkthrough of the wireframes and emotions while we're interacting, while different people are interacting with the application and the conclusion. Okay, so to begin things off, so the problem of that we were trying to solve is that subscription services with free trials do not send reminders on incoming end periods. So subscribers with multiple subscription services can't keep track of the payment dates and what they're usually subscribed to. And so, they would get overcharged or they would get charged without knowing. So our solution in general was a calendar utility app, which focused on three different things, which are listed here: tracking various subscriptions, note keeping, and adding non related subscription events. So I would go into more detail about that. Um, of course, our team came up with a mobile calendar app that will allow users to keep up with their free trial subscription services and other events so that users can become more organized with their finances and recurring events. So Begone thought, not only will it track user subscriptions, but it will also directly link them to the subscription services and payment options when clicked on. These days there are many subscription services and free trials out there more than ever that utilize the auto pay function. That takes money out of your account. Sometimes without warning, most times without warning, and the customer isn't aware. So the Begone Thought Calendar is an application that will keep track of the services by listing the days when any paid subscription or free trial is due for payment. After making a payment on a service, the date of that payment is due will be updated on the list when the next payment is due. So the user may also list their own events and important dates on the same calendar to prevent the inconvenience of making them use more than one calendar. So this subscription tracker app would be a great utility, for college students. You know, Sometimes they struggle to pay bills and they can't spare money for a subscription, but we still like to utilize the free trial method. And this can also help college students to keep track of like due dates on different assignments. So it's a multifunctional calendar app. Um, so the user will be able to view, a calendar that shows active trials. Just to go into more technical description of the app, they'll be able to view the calendar and it will show different active trials and subscriptions on the day that the payments are due for free trials, and it will show the day that the payment of the free trial ends. So the calendar can be downloaded in an offline mode and or online mode and be imported to other calendar apps like iCalendar and Outlook, and you'll be able to show the payment costs and services where the services name is a link. So once you click the link, a new page will show up and the link will be provided to the specific service day that it's due. And a favicon showing the logo of the specific service in the list view of the active and inactive services will also be listed. Ordered by payment due dates and active subscriptions will be grayed out, and active subscriptions will keep the regular color scheme until edited by the user. So it will show the type of point payment, for example, Apple Pay, credit, debit, and there'll also be a user customization that can be defined for each box in the calendar and list view. By default, the boxes are white to begin with and turn yellow a week before the payment is due, and finally red the day that the payments are due. So that's a little technical description and a little of the proposal of our calendar application. So we go into more detail in the rest of our project. I will pass it on to Janae. Thank you.
So for our creation process, we started off by conducting meetings at times that worked for our schedules. Our meetings were virtually held, so we used Teams as our meeting platform, where we screen shared and worked together in balsamic to wireframes. In our interview process, we conducted various interviews between college students to find out what frustrates them when it comes to free trials and their subscription accounts. At the end of the interview process, we learned how emotionally and financially taxing it is for young students to miss free trial cancellation dates or forgetting to cancel a subscription that they are not using anymore. And here were some of the questions that we asked. Most important questions were, how do you currently organize slash schedule yourself? And do you find it difficult to schedule while in college? And also, do you use any subscription services like Netflix? We found out that a lot of students who are very busy usually don't have that many subscription accounts, so it's not hard for them. But a lot of students that do have a lot of free time on their hands, they find it hard to schedule many of their subscription accounts. So when it came to actually creating Begon Thought, we used diagrams such as WAD and end user diagram models to fully visualize themes from our interviews and our end goals for the app. So for our user diagram, we started with the user, and then the user may receive a notification from Begon Thought, and from their smart device, they will open the app, go to the list or calendar view, and click on the subscription service that is upcoming, which will take them straight to their preferred payment method. So for our interaction requirements process, we put together 12 different tasks our users might run into and wrote step-by-step potential processes our users may take to perform a specific action. An example of this is our task to creating a recurring subscription in the calendar. In short, to make an event reoccurring, the user will only need to enable the recurring button that is in the edit or create task page and save the change to talk more about our creation process and early models, I will hand it over to Jared.
Thanks, Janae. My name's Jared, and I just wanted to tell you about the ideation process and later a little bit about the initial creation process. The ideation process for wireframes in our app consisted of looking through our research data from interviewing our clients and brainstorming any major concerns that they may experience or coming up with any major features they may look forward to in our app. Our main goal at the beginning of the ideation process consisted of making the app easily usable for any user. Even though our app was mainly created with the idea of college students like us using the app, we wanted to include a clearly labeled and easy to use interface for any age. We wanted to also take into account that whilst our current prototypes are for smartphone devices, we will likely want to expand to computer devices and include button layouts that will be easily portable to PC devices. That's where we decided to also use a flowchart. Taking the 12 user tasks mentioned earlier into account, we realized that whilst these tasks were our primary goal, we wanted to specify more clearly the different buttons a user would need to press to get to these goals so that we could spend more time on the rest of the creation process. We came up with this flow diagram for the different buttons we would use in our prototypes, and this process ended up splitting the app into three separate sections: calendar, list view, and notes view. This flow diagram ended up being the most important piece of the early prototyping and allowed us to create our sketches really easily. We then came up with three theoretical design personas to have a kind of ideal target to work around, inspired by people from our interviews. Our team chose three primary user types: organizationally active college students, average college students, and a teacher slash professor. After creating and reviewing these personas, our team had reinforced our image of a target audience. With a better understanding of our audience, we took to creating a storyboard scenario for a beginner user using our app for the first time. We created the storyboard utilizing the calendar pages sketches, more focused on user experience, thinking more along the lines of what a user might be thinking whilst using this section of the app. The creation process of our wireframes actually began with these little sketches we made. These sketches were actually just created in our project file using the program Balsamic and consisted of quickly created little prototypes, or pre-alpha kind of sketches. They were created based on the flow diagram I had previously shown and ended up being very important as well. Having these quick little sketches of what 90% of the pages should include ended up making the number one tool we came back to once we got into the wireframe creation. The only wireframes we created that did not make use of these sketches were the first three login screen mockups. Finally, we began creating the real wireframes we would be using in the final project. For this process, we began with only creating the calendar pages wireframes, again utilizing the sketches and flow model, just so that we could understand the best way to create the initial looks and processes of moving from page to page clear to a user just from looking at our project file. Under each wireframe, we also included a short description of the page's intended purpose, what the user can do when looking at that screen, and how the user could have gotten there. And that there marks the end of the ideation and early creation processes. James here will be discussing where we've taken those sketches and go more in depth about how everything comes together into our final product.
Hello, so my name is James Scott, and we are going to go over the final product of our app, Begone Thought. So as discussed earlier, the app is focused on managing your subscriptions specifically, but also you could use it for bills and other important events, but we mainly wanted to focus on remembering when subscription payments were due and also remembering when free trials were over. So this image is a little bit blurry, but from the start you can see you log in, and we have your traditional login page where we show you an icon, and then after that it goes into your username password area, and you log in to this section. Just very normal stuff, things that we're all familiar with, and then it takes you into this calendar page. Now, this is where the app is interesting because the idea, oops, sorry about that. The idea was to mimic a notebook. So we wanted it to be very similar to how you would use a planner or a notebook, which is something that the majority of us have probably experienced and are familiar with and know how to use. Even if you're not a super experienced planner, you probably know how to write down important things in a planner. And that's why we have this notes page here, because we wanted something where not only could you view a calendar like how you have in the back of a planner or on a traditional calendar where you can just mark off specific days, but a notes page where you can write more important information. We also have this list page. You can remove events directly. So what that means is if you have a Netflix event that's coming up, this list page, one of the views is it'll tell you upcoming events. And you can do vice versa. So let's say you wanted to add an event. You could also do that here. And then you also have a filter. So this is something that I think a lot of us once again are familiar with. Same with sort. Filter just gives you some options. Maybe you want to view subscriptions based on price or maybe free trials. This is where you kind of navigate that and have different options. So right there you can see it says free trial. It's a little bit blurry, but that's one filter option. Another thing you can do is use the sort option, which will categorize them in whatever way you want. So you could do alphabetical, which I don't think is how we have it here, but you could do it like that. You could sort by upcoming or the last to pay, so the furthest away. You could do low to high, and so sort would just give you all of them, but it would show them to you in whatever order you wanted them to. Filter would filter them out and give you less options based on the criteria that you listed. Going back to the calendar page, so this is important also because this is where you will set up your reoccurring events as well. So now you have that functionality. All the functionality that I speak of can be done in really any of these sections, but the way I imagine it is that you would set up your first day of paying on the calendar page, and if it's a reoccurring one for every month, then you would say reoccurring every month. So you could put every 28 days, you could put every week, every 7 days, or you could put yearly, whatever the case may be. And I'm out of ideas for talking, but we're going to cut this part. Where am I at? Oh, I'm at 6 minutes. I'm done. And so that's it.